Hi, I'm jjbarnes and welcome back to another episode of The Table Read. So, thank you very much for coming back for more creative writing advice with me, jjbarnes. Today what I'm going to be talking to you about is how to write a series. Now, this might seem really dumb, right? Because what you do, you just keep writing the same characters and you keep writing it. But there's a real thing you have to consider when you want to set out to write a series. The first thing you have to think about, right, is remember, just because you know you're writing book 2, 3, 4, 5 in a series, doesn't mean your audience necessarily knows that too. You can't write your book with the assumption that every single person who picks it up has read everything you've written before, or remembered everything you've written before, or even realizes that what you've got is a series. There is every chance that somebody will come to your book because they like the look of the cover, they read the synopsis, and they think, yeah, this looks like a good book. And then if they start reading it and after a while think, what is happening? You've kind of lost them. And this has happened to me before. I have been reading a book with not a clue that it's part of a series. Just saw it, bought it, read it, and realised that the things that are going on that I don't understand aren't not supposed to be understood. It's not that the story is building a mystery that I'm meant to find out about in the end. It's literally that there's not going to be an explanation for it because the assumption is there that I already know everything. There's an explanation for all the stuff that's happening, but it's already been and gone. I just missed it. And that is a real shame, because once you've kicked somebody out of your series, their thoughts about your book aren't going to be, I want to read more of it. I want to find out the history of this. It's going to be, I don't know what's going on, forget it. Not for me. Too much research has to be done. I've got to study to be able to understand what's happening. And that is something you don't want to do. An absolute master of the series and doing this that I'm talking about is Robert Crais. So Robert Crais writes the Elvis Cole and Joe Pike books, and they're murder mystery and detective and things like that. Quite standard in the sense that it's thriller. It's guy discovers girl in danger and goes to save her and protects her from the bad guys and blah. You know what you're getting into. You're reading a thriller book with a mystery and a couple of guys who are working together to stop the bad guy. What's masterful about it, absolutely masterful, is not only the stories are genuinely excellent, and I love them. What's masterful is you can read any book in all of those books, pick one up at random. You're not going to feel discombobulated. You're just not. It's all going to be there. It's all going to be explained. You're going to find out about Elvis Cole's detective agency. You're going to find out about Joe Pike and his sunglasses and his tattoos and his history with the military. You won't get a big deep dive every time, so it feels boring. So if you do know it all already and you do come back repeatedly, you're not going to get booted out because it's so dull, because everything is being re-explained again. But it just means that if you're new, you've fed it a little bit. It's given you so that it all makes sense. And that is truly masterful. Because if you just assume that everybody's all caught up on everything, or if you've released a book 3 years ago that they haven't read a whole bunch of things before that and maybe forgotten stuff that you wrote about before, it's kind of arrogant. And you are going to lose people. And fundamentally, this is the key point, because you're writing a series to catch that return audience, right? Otherwise, you could just write a new story each time. The real lure of writing a series is that people will keep coming back. They'll keep buying your books. They'll want to know what happens next. They'll be invested and they will care, which means repeat sales. So it's very important. Start your book assuming that people are coming to it who haven't read what went first. Don't do a massive info dump. That's never a good idea. But just write with the respect that some people are going to be new or have forgotten stuff. So just explain something. If you have a character who has a real long relationship with another character, just drop it in that history exists. If you have a character with magical powers and they can do all this wonderful stuff. Don't sort of 17 pages in just have them use it without any explanation. Just let people know that that's happening, that's meant to, you don't want to make people feel like they're either stupid because they don't know what's going on, or that you've just not bothered catering to them because you don't need their reading. You only want the people who've studied and stuck with you from day one. No, you want all of them. You want all of the audience. So make them welcome. Make them feel fresh. Because then if they do read it and they do love it and they find out that there's more books, then they will absolutely go back because they've read a really good story. That it all makes sense to them, but they're excited to know more about those characters, which means they will then go back and read all of the other stuff you did. But only if you respect them and make them welcome in your story. Another thing to remember, if you want to write a series, you need a conflict engine. There's no point trying to imagine that every single person has got something exciting happening to them just coincidentally and randomly in your story. Because that just wouldn't happen. Most of us, our lives are kind of ordinary. We get up, we take our kids to school, we go and buy milk and butter, we come home and we work, right? There's not natural conflict generated in ordinary day-to-day life. The stories that do try to do that are in soaps, right? And we all know what soaps are like. They are kind of extreme. You've got cheating all the time, murders all the time, drama, things that aren't real life. And I'm not saying your story has to be real life, but you're not writing a soap opera, you're writing a book. So there has to be a reason interesting and exciting events reoccur in your characters' lives. Now, I mentioned Elvis Cole, right? Elvis Cole is a private detective. That is your conflict engine. You just get a new client. His life is naturally drawing in a new conflict. Somebody has a thing that needs investigating. Done. If there wasn't something going on, then they wouldn't investigate it, but if there's something going on, you join them again. Take part in that investigation. Natural conflict engine. It's in his job. Ditto with Bones. In Bones, Temperance Brennan, a forensic anthropologist working with FBI agent Sealy Booth. Bam! That is your conflict engine. They solve murders. People get murdered. It's not in their immediate lives, so it's not unreasonable to assume that this is possible. That's their job. They get taken to murders all over the place and they solve them. Conflict engine. You've got a reason for showing up. Now, where all of this advice might seem like it doesn't apply, if you have got a series that is astoundingly part of the zeitgeist, like absolutely sort of mainstream to the point of being like almost bred into people that they know at least something. I'm thinking Harry Potter and I'm thinking Marvel, right? You can do something with that that's different. Because your audience, you don't just pick up Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Harry Potter is so entrenched in our social world that you know that there are books that came first. You know. And the likelihood is, if you picked up Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, you've picked up Philosopher's Stone. So you don't have to quite do the same thing. And Marvel is the same. Imagine if you sat down to watch, say, WandaVision or Loki, which I'm podcasting at the minute because that's coming out, and there had been nothing. You just hadn't seen or heard any of the other stuff that was going on. That would make no sense. You would be who, what, why, where, when, all over the place. Wouldn't make sense. But because they are such a phenomenal success, they get to just skip that. And they can give you a bit of backstory. You get to see bits and pieces through flashbacks and whatever, but not enough to make this stuff make sense. Infinity War, Endgame. If you hadn't seen and understood everything that was going on, none of that stuff would have made sense. So you can get to a point with series writing where you are such a part of society that everything I'm saying can just go. But I'm assuming you are actually not the overlords at Marvel or J.K. Rowling. I mean, if you are, welcome. Hello, I'm very flattered that you're here watching me. But if you're not, if you're a normal person, working really hard, writing, trying to be the best you can be, trying to make a living and trying to thrive in a very competitive and creative industry, make sure your audience gets what's going on by giving them just enough that your story makes sense and they feel welcomed in, they feel respected, they can get anything from it that they need to get. And make sure you've got a natural conflict engine, so the reason you keep returning is immediately clear. This is the conflict of this book or this episode. That's what we're here for. Boom, I get it, I'm here, I'm interested. The series will benefit from it. And I've read books, I'm not going to name and shame because I don't like to do that, books which I could probably have enjoyed, and I would probably have wanted to read more of the series. But because everything just seemed confusing, I couldn't tell if the story was any good because I didn't know what was going on, and then realised it's because I missed a massive thing. I had no interest in going back because I'm not part of that. That's not mine, that's somebody else's. So don't miss out on a massive audience. Make yourself have the best shot possible of drawing them in to read more. So thank you very much for watching this. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any more tips on how to write a successful series, please comment below, because I can do more videos on this, and there's always more stuff that can be shared and always more stuff that can be talked about. And that's the wonderful thing about writing, is there's always more. You can always go into more. If that dog is annoying you, I'm really sorry. It's so hot I can't shut the window. I will die. So please subscribe to this channel. I'm putting out videos every week to support, encourage, teach, guide, and yeah, celebrate the wonderful world of stories and writing. And if you go to thetableread.co.uk, over there you can subscribe to that too. That is where we are putting out as much as we can of interesting and exciting and inspirational and motivational and just celebratory things about stories and writing to teach you, guide you, excite you, introduce you to new stories, like celebrate old stories, help you write your story. It is our project that we are very passionate about, and we'd love you to be involved. So thank you very much, and I'll be back again soon. Bye.